Would you like to have Ayanokoji memory? 5 quick tips on how to memorize like Kiyotaka Ayanokoji. Visual association. The reason you may not remember details about someone or something is because you don't mentally associate them with anything to increase the chances of you memorizing. You have to attach a reference point to the thing that you are trying to remember. Basically, you have to link a new piece of information to something visual in your mind. For example, if a person mentions that they like reading books, you could associate this individual with a mental image of books within your mind. Even if you don't remember everything they said, you can still get a vague sense of certain details about the individual. Since you visually associated the person with books, you will still remember the fact that this person is a bookworm. Humans actually do associations all the time, and most do it without being fully aware of it. Remember that visual memory is very powerful. So when you visualize an image with a specific piece of information, you will memorize it significantly better. Actively recall when you first receive information. You will slowly forget it over time unless you force yourself to recall that information again. The forgetting curve is a visual representation of this, and you can easily keep your memory retention by actively recalling information in multiple spread-out sessions. It's an effective method of memorizing anything because repetition increases your brain's ability to remember. Whenever you learn something new, take the time to review it later on. If you keep recalling the same information over a long period of time, it will eventually solidify in your mind, enabling you to remember this specific information more easily. Create a memory palace. This involves visual association, but instead of just creating a mental image of specific information, you're also placing it in an imaginary location. Within your mind, it will allow you to mentally walk through a location while looking at visual images to recall memories. The purpose of doing this is to give structure and order to your memories. Basically, you just create a visual image of the information you received. Then you place this image within an imaginary location, your imaginary location for your memory. Palace can be whatever you want, but keep in mind that the imaginary place should be something easy for you to remember. You could choose a real-life place that you know very well, or create a local location. Layout that simple. For example, you could use the White Room as your memory palace. This is something that's not filled with unnecessary details, and imagining a completely white room is very simple. Once you have a location for your mind, palace, you can start adding information. The information you add to your mind, palace, can be whatever you want. It could be observations you made on individuals, or perhaps it's information on a subject you're studying, whatever it may be. You need to place visual representations of the information throughout your memory. Palace make it visually stimulating as much as possible because, like I said before, visualization of information makes it easier for your brain to remember then. After all this, you can mentally walk through your memory palace, but keep in mind that you should use the same specific path when walking through your memory palace. It will put the information in an organized, structured order and essentially makes it easier for you to memorize selectively. Learn useful information. Choosing to learn things that are specifically meaningful and useful to you will be remembered for a longer period of time. While you can technically memorize anything you want, it's not recommended to try to learn everything. It's best to focus on memorizing the information that will be specifically useful to you. For example, if you want to influence people, then you would specifically learn something like psychology and communication. The fact that the information is related to something that you want to do will allow you to naturally memorize without much effort. But on the other hand, if you try to learn random, useless information, it won't stick in your mind. Basically, if you can see intrinsic value in the information you're learning, you'll be able to memorize more effectively chunk information. This is the process of taking large amounts of information and grouping them into smaller pieces of information. The reason you may want to use this method is because the human brain has a limit on how much it can store in its short-term memory. Essentially, when you try to process too much information all at once, you will just forget most of it. It's better for you to consume one small piece of information. For example, if you're trying to memorize all the information from the page of a book, you should start by analyzing one paragraph. First, then, move on to analyzing another section of information. Don't try to learn the information all at once because you're just overloading your brain with too many details. It's better to receive smaller parts of all the information in order to let your brain memorize better. By doing this, you will easily improve your memory and will enable yourself to remember several important things. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want.